In the quiet hours before full morning arrives, the land along the river rests in a soft half-sleep. The air is still cool in places where the night has not yet fully released its hold. A gentle darkness lingers over the wide river, moving slowly as if it does not wish to disturb anything. The water carries the memory of stars that are beginning to fade, and small ripples slide across its surface without sound. Along the banks, mud brick homes sit close together, their shapes simple and worn by time. They are not grand or tall. They belong to ordinary life, shaped by hands that work slowly over many seasons. Inside these homes, people are already beginning to stir, not in urgency, but in the familiar rhythm that has always guided their days. A hand reaches for a clay jar. A foot touches the cool ground. A door made of woven reed shifts open with a soft, tired movement. The early morning is never loud here. It is a quiet return to work, as if the world itself remembers what must be done. A baker, still half dreaming, moves toward a small oven that has held its warmth through the night. The fire inside is low and patient. Dough is shaped with steady hands, pressed gently, as if even bread should not be rushed. The smell slowly rises into the air, soft and grounding, mixing with the coolness of the river breeze. Farther along the narrow paths between homes, sandals brush against packed earth. Each step leaves a faint impression, quickly softened by dust that never truly settles. A man carrying water pauses for a moment, adjusting the weight on his shoulder. The jars are heavy, filled from the river before sunrise, when the water is calm and undisturbed. He moves again, slowly, knowing the path by memory more than sight. In the distance, the fields wait quietly. They are wide and patient, stretching toward the horizon where the sky is beginning to pale. Farmers begin to gather there in small groups, their presence unhurried. Some carry wooden tools worn smooth by years of use. Others simply stand for a moment, looking over the land before the day begins to ask anything of them. The soil holds the memory of water and sun, of past seasons that have come and gone without pause. It is heavy in some places, lighter in others. The work here is never sudden. It follows the rhythm of the river, and the river itself follows something older still, something steady and unbroken. A few workers begin to move through the fields, their steps slow and familiar. They bend gently toward the ground, not speaking much. Words are not needed in the early hours. The act of working the earth is something known deeply in the body, passed down without instruction. Hands touch soil, break it apart, smooth it again. The sound is soft, almost like breathing. Back in the village, smoke rises in thin lines from small hearths. It drifts upward without hurry, dissolving into the pale sky. A child sits near a doorway, watching it rise. There is no rush in the child's gaze, only quiet attention. Nearby, an elder sits with eyes half closed, listening to the distant sounds of the morning waking fully into place. The world is not separate from them. It surrounds them gently, like warm air resting against skin. A fisherman moves along the edge of the river, his boat resting just above the water line. He checks the net with careful hands, untangling knots that formed during the night. The river is still low and calm at this hour. It does not resist. It accepts the boat, the net, the weight of human routine. When he finally pushes off, the boat glides forward with a soft resistance, barely breaking the surface. The sound of water against wood is slow and steady. It is a sound that repeats itself in endless variations, never changing too much. Out here, time feels less like something that moves forward quickly, and more like something that gently unfolds, layer by layer, with no urgency to reach its end. Along the riverbanks, reeds sway slightly. Birds move between them in small, unplanned paths. Their calls are not loud. They blend into the background of labor and breath. Even the wind seems careful not to disturb the balance of the morning. As the sun begins to rise a little higher, the light touches the tops of the mud brick homes. The walls warm slowly, holding the heat as if remembering it from previous days. Inside, people begin to fully wake. Not suddenly, but gradually, like a thought returning after a long pause. A woman prepares grain for grinding. The motion of the stone against stone is steady, almost meditative. Each turn is the same as the last, and yet none of them feel identical. The rhythm carries a quiet patience. Grain becomes flour, slowly, without hurry. The sound is soft enough that it does not interrupt conversation. It exists alongside silence rather than against it. Nearby, a man repairs a simple tool. He sits in the shade where the sun has not yet reached fully. His hands move with practiced care, adjusting wood and rope. There is no urgency in his work. Tools here are not discarded easily. They are repaired, reused, and kept until they can no longer serve. Even then, parts of them are saved for later use. The village slowly becomes more awake, but never fully loud. It is not a place of sudden motion. It is a place of steady continuation. Smoke, footsteps, water, wind, and labor all blend together into a single calm rhythm. As the morning deepens, the fields begin to show more movement. Lines of workers stretch across the land, each one focused on a small section of earth. The sun rises higher now, bringing warmth that settles onto shoulders and backs. Sweat forms slowly, not in urgency, but as part of the day's acceptance. People pause occasionally to drink water from clay vessels. The water is cool at first, then slowly becomes warm under the sun. Even this change is accepted without complaint. It is simply part of the cycle. The river continues its slow presence beside them, always nearby, always moving, always the same and yet never exactly the same. It watches the fields, the homes, the people who depend on it without ever needing to speak. And as the morning settles fully into its place, the entire landscape feels held within a quiet routine that stretches far beyond any single day. Nothing here begins sharply. Nothing ends suddenly. Everything moves gently forward, carried by a rhythm that feels older than memory itself. The day has already settled into its slow rhythm by the time the sun rises higher, and nothing in the land seems surprised by its return. The light spreads across the river in a quiet sheet, bright but not harsh yet, as if it is still learning how strongly it will shine. The water reflects it in soft pieces, broken by gentle movement that never fully stops. Along the riverbanks, life continues in the same careful pace. The fisherman who left earlier is now farther out on the water, his boat moving in small, steady lines. He does not hurry. The river does not require it. His hands move through the net again and again, checking for catches with the patience of someone who has done this for years without counting how many times the motion has been repeated. On the shore, others prepare for the tasks of the midday hours. Small groups gather under thin patches of shade. They sit on the ground, resting their legs in silence. The warmth is beginning to build now, slowly pressing down on everything. It does not arrive suddenly. It settles, layer by layer, until the body simply accepts it. In the village, the sound of grinding grain continues. It is one of the most constant sounds of the day, steady and unchanging. Stone against stone, hand turning in a slow circle. The rhythm becomes something the mind can drift inside, something that does not demand attention but gently holds it. A woman pauses for a moment, wiping her hands on the edge of her cloth. She looks toward the doorway where light has begun to gather. The heat outside is already strong enough to be felt even from within the shaded room. Still, she returns to the grinding stone without complaint. This work is not separate from life. It is life itself, repeated in small motions that fill the hours. Nearby, a child sits close to the doorway again, watching dust move through beams of light. The dust does not rise quickly. It floats, turns, and settles in patterns that seem almost thoughtful. The child follows it with quiet eyes, as if there is meaning in its slow drifting. Time at this age does not feel divided. It simply flows, like the river nearby, without clear edges. Outside, the fields continue their slow expansion of labor. The workers move in lines that are not perfectly straight, but naturally shaped by the land. Each person has their own small space, their own patch of earth. The work is physical, but it is not rushed. Hands press into soil, lift, turn, and smooth. The same motions return again and again, like breathing made visible. The heat grows stronger now, pressing gently on shoulders and backs. It is not yet the harshest part of the day, but it is already present in everything. Sweat darkens fabric in quiet patches. People adjust their movements slightly, shifting weight, slowing their pace even more. The land does not resist this change. It seems to expect it. Farther away from the fields, the river remains a constant companion. Its surface is still alive with small movements, but it carries them calmly. A breeze passes over it and disappears without leaving a trace. Reeds along the edge bend slightly, then return upright, as if nothing had happened. A group of workers carrying baskets of grain walk slowly along a dirt path. Their steps are measured, careful not to disturb the load. The baskets are woven tightly, filled with the results of earlier labor. Nothing here is separate. The morning's work becomes the midday's transport, and the cycle continues without interruption. As they walk, their shadows shift across the ground. The sun is higher now, and the shadows grow shorter, closer to the body. There is something quiet in the way they move together. No one speaks much. Words are not needed for tasks that are already understood. In the shade of a small structure near the fields, an older man sits with his back against a wall. His eyes are half closed, though he is not fully asleep. He listens to the distant sound of labor, the faint rustle of movement across the land. His breathing is slow, steady. The shade around him is cool enough to offer relief, but not so cool that it feels separate from the world outside. Time passes in this place without clear markings. There are no loud signals to announce change. Instead, everything shifts gradually. The sun rises higher. The heat deepens. The work slows slightly. The bodies adjust without needing instruction. At the river, a different kind of activity begins to appear. Small boats return, their movements slower than before. The fishermen bring what they have caught, though not in abundance every day. Some nets are fuller than others. Some are light. No one reacts strongly to either outcome. The river gives what it gives, and that is enough. The boats glide back to shore one by one, touching the edge of land with a soft scrape. The fishermen step out carefully, their feet meeting wet earth that cools briefly under their weight. Nets are lifted, inspected, and set aside. The work continues, but now in a different form, closer to the village and closer to rest. In the village, food preparation begins to take shape. Bread from earlier baking is now shared, broken into pieces and given out quietly. Clay bowls are filled with simple meals. Nothing elaborate, nothing excessive. The food is warm, grounding, and familiar. People sit in small groups to eat. The conversations are minimal. Sometimes there are none at all. The act of eating becomes part of the same rhythm as working, resting, and moving. Hands lift food, bring it to the mouth, then rest again. The repetition is gentle, almost comforting. The midday heat settles more fully now. The air feels heavier, slower. Even movement seems to require more care. Those who can rest do so. They find shade where it exists, leaning against walls or sitting on cool ground. The village softens into a quieter state, as if the entire world is pausing without actually stopping. Inside homes, the light is dimmer. Curtains or woven materials soften the brightness. The air inside carries the scent of bread, clay, and dust warmed by sun. People lie down briefly, not in deep sleep always, but in a half-rest that allows the body to recover from the steady effort of the morning. Outside, the river continues its patient movement. It does not pause for heat or rest. It simply flows, unchanged in its purpose. Yet even it seems quieter under the strong sun, its surface flatter, smoother, as if holding itself still for a moment. A small breeze returns later in the afternoon, moving through the fields first. It is not strong, but it is enough to shift the heat slightly. Workers who remained at their tasks straighten a little, feeling the air move across their skin. The day does not change direction, but it becomes slightly easier to endure. Slowly, work begins to resume more actively again. The resting hours pass without clear division, and the land returns to motion. Not quickly, not suddenly, but with the same steady patience that has defined everything before. And so the cycle continues, unbroken and calm, as the afternoon begins its long, gentle descent toward the next quiet stage of the day. The afternoon does not arrive with any clear moment of change. It simply replaces the earlier heat with a slightly different kind of stillness. The light shifts again across the land, now less sharp, more spread out, as if the sun itself has grown tired of holding everything so brightly. In the fields, the work resumes with the same careful pace. Nothing quickens. Nothing rushes forward. The soil is still warm underfoot, still holding the memory of midday heat. Hands continue their familiar movements. Lift, turn, smooth. Lift, turn, smooth. The rhythm is so steady that it begins to feel like part of the landscape itself. Farther along the paths, small groups of workers move between tasks. Some carry tools back toward storage places. Others walk slowly toward the village, their bodies slightly bent from hours of labor. Their silence is not heavy. It is simply natural, as if speaking would require more energy than necessary at this hour. The river remains close, always visible in the distance. It reflects the afternoon light in a softer way now. The brightness has changed, becoming less intense, more golden, and stretched. Boats rest along its edge, tied loosely or pulled onto shallow banks. The water laps gently against their sides, patient and unhurried. Inside the village, the pace is different but equally steady. A small workshop is open to the air, its walls allowing light and sound to move freely. Here, a craftsman shapes wood with slow, practiced strokes. The tool in his hand moves in short, careful motions, shaving thin pieces away. Each movement is repeated without hurry, as if time itself is measured in the softness of each cut. Nearby, another person works with clay. The material is cool at first, then slowly warmed by touch. It is pressed, shaped, and smoothed into forms that will later hold water or grain. The hands doing this work are steady, not distracted. The clay responds without resistance, accepting each change as part of its purpose. Outside the workshop, the village continues its quiet afternoon rhythm. People move through narrow paths between homes. Some carry small bundles. Others simply walk without visible task, their steps slow and familiar. The ground beneath them is uneven in places, softened by repeated passage over many days and many seasons. A group of scribes sits in a shaded area near a building wall. Their posture is careful, slightly forward, as they work with thin surfaces and simple tools. The motion of writing is slow and deliberate. Each mark is made with attention, then paused, then made again. There is no urgency in their task, only continuity. Records of grain, of labor, of movement through the days. Simple details that together hold the shape of life. The sound of scratching tools against surface blends into the background of the village. It does not dominate anything. It exists alongside the more physical sounds of labor, footsteps, distant voices, and the occasional rustle of cloth in the wind. As the afternoon moves forward, the heat begins to loosen its grip slightly. It does not disappear, but it softens. Shadows grow a little longer again, stretching carefully across the ground. People notice this without needing to speak of it. The change is felt more than observed. At the river, fishermen who remained nearby begin preparing once more. Nets are checked again, not with urgency, but with routine familiarity. Some will go out again, others will not. The decision is simple, based on habit more than planning. The river will still be there tomorrow, and the day after, unchanged in its steady presence. Children move through the village more freely now. Their energy returns as the harshest part of the heat fades. They run in short bursts between shaded areas, their movement lighter than the adults around them. Even their sounds are brief, carried away quickly by the open air. An elder sits near a doorway, watching this movement with calm attention. There is no urgency in the gaze. Only observation. The village continues to function as it always has, each generation moving through its own part of the same long rhythm. Inside homes, preparations for the evening begin slowly. Food is gathered, not yet cooked in some places, already prepared in others. Clay vessels are arranged near hearths. Firewood is placed nearby in neat, simple stacks. Everything is done in advance, without rush, as if the evening has already been quietly accepted before it fully arrives. The light outside grows warmer in tone, shifting toward a softer gold. Dust in the air becomes more visible again, drifting through beams of sunlight that angle lower across the village. The world begins to feel slightly quieter, as if it is preparing to rest even while still moving. Workers return from fields in small groups. Their steps are slower now, bodies carrying the weight of the day's effort. Shoulders drop slightly as they walk. Conversations, when they happen, are brief and low. Most of the journey back is done in silence. The river reflects this return. Boats come in gently, touching shore without force. Nets are set down. Tools are placed carefully where they belong. Nothing is thrown or dropped. Everything is returned with the same care it was taken out with. As people reach their homes, the village begins to gather itself inward. Doors open and close slowly. Fires are rekindled where needed. Smoke rises again, but now it blends with the changing color of the sky. The sun begins its gradual descent. It does not fall quickly. It lowers itself in stages, each one softer than the last. The land responds without resistance. Shadows stretch longer, reaching across walls, paths, and fields. Inside one home, bread is broken again, this time for the evening meal. The sound is soft, almost absent. Hands pass pieces between each other without ceremony. The act is familiar, repeated every day in nearly the same way. There is comfort in that repetition, in the knowledge that nothing here demands sudden change. Outside, the air cools slightly. Not enough to announce night, but enough to suggest it is coming. The wind moves more freely now, no longer weighed down by midday heat. It passes through reeds, over fields, and between homes with a gentle consistency. The river darkens slowly, taking on deeper tones as the light fades. It continues its movement without pause, as it always does. The same water, the same flow, the same quiet presence that has remained through the entire day. And as the village settles into the early shape of evening, everything begins to slow just a little more, not toward an end, but toward rest, as if the world itself is preparing to hold still for a while before the night fully arrives. Evening arrives without announcement, as it always does in this quiet land. The light does not vanish suddenly. It thins slowly, like something gently being drawn away from the world. The sky keeps its warmth for a while longer, holding on to the last traces of gold before letting them soften into pale ember. Across the village, movement becomes more measured. The long day has already been lived through the body, and now everything feels slightly heavier, slightly slower, as if even thought prefers to rest. Doors remain open for a little longer, allowing the last of the daylight to settle inside homes before night begins its full arrival. Inside small mud brick houses, the evening meals continue in calm rhythm. Food is simple, prepared without ceremony. Grain, bread, perhaps a small portion of fish or lentils depending on the day's outcome. Everything is shared quietly. Hands move between bowls and clay plates without hurry. No one feels the need to speak more than necessary. The comfort is already present in the routine itself. Outside, the air changes gently. The heat of the day loosens its grip entirely now, replaced by a softer coolness that drifts in from the river. It moves through the village slowly, touching skin, walls, and rooftops with a sense of release. The land seems to exhale after holding warmth for so many hours. Along the riverbank, the water reflects the fading sky in deeper tones. The brightness has gone, but the river does not become less alive. Instead, it becomes quieter, more reflective, as if it is thinking in its own slow way. Small ripples move across its surface, breaking the reflection into soft fragments that come and go without pattern. A few fishermen remain near their boats, adjusting ropes and checking equipment for the next day. Their movements are unhurried, almost absent-minded. They have no reason to rush. The river will not change its habits overnight. It will remain here, steady and patient, waiting for the same return in the morning. In the fields, the last workers make their way back along familiar paths. The soil is darker now in the fading light. It holds the imprint of the entire day: footsteps, tools, and movement layered into its surface. Nothing is erased. Everything is simply absorbed. As these figures walk back toward the village, their silhouettes stretch long behind them. The sun is low, barely visible now, resting close to the horizon. The sky above it fades from warm gold into soft, quiet blue. There is a moment where both colors exist together, as if the day and night are briefly sharing the same space. In that transition, the village feels especially still. Not empty, but settled. The urgency of labor is gone. What remains is a slow return to rest, a gathering inward that happens without instruction. Inside a shaded courtyard, an elder sits alone for a while longer. The chair or stool beneath them is simple, worn smooth by years of use. Their gaze rests on the horizon, though there is nothing in particular being watched. It is more a habit of being present than an act of observation. Around them, the sounds of evening continue: soft footsteps, distant voices, the faint movement of water containers being set down. Children, now quieter than before, sit closer to their homes. Their energy has softened into stillness. Some lean against walls. Others rest near family members, their movements slower, their voices nearly gone. The day has taken its share from them, as it does from everyone. Inside homes, lamps begin to appear one by one. The light they give is small, contained, and warm. It does not spread far, but it does not need to. It gathers the room inward, making each space feel closer, more intimate. Shadows form in corners and along walls, moving gently as the flames shift. The smell of smoke from cooking fires drifts upward into the cooling air. It mixes with the scent of dust, clay, and river moisture carried in from the day. These scents do not compete. They blend softly, becoming part of the evening atmosphere that wraps around everything. Outside, the sky continues its slow transformation. The last light fades from gold into deeper tones of blue and gray. The first faint stars begin to appear, not sharply, but gradually, as if they are remembering their place in the sky. The river becomes darker now, almost blending into the surrounding land. Only faint reflections reveal its movement. It is still there, still flowing, still unchanged in its quiet purpose. Even in darkness, it remains a constant presence, as it has been through every hour of the day. In the village, conversations grow fewer. Voices lower. The rhythm of activity shifts from outward motion to inward stillness. People begin to settle into places where rest becomes possible. Mats are arranged. Blankets are spread. Bodies recline slowly, as if allowing the weight of the day to finally be set down. The sound of grinding grain has stopped. The sound of walking has slowed. What remains is the quiet layering of evening life: small adjustments, final movements, the soft closing of routines that will return again tomorrow in nearly the same form. A gentle breeze moves through the village, carrying the final warmth of the day away. It passes through narrow paths, over rooftops, and across the river's edge. It does not linger. It simply moves through, like a quiet reminder that change is always gradual here, never abrupt. As night continues to approach, the entire landscape seems to soften further. Edges blur. Colors fade into deeper shades. Even sound feels more distant, as if the world is slowly lowering its voice. And in this slow settling of evening, the village enters a state that feels neither fully awake nor fully asleep, but something in between: calm, familiar, and deeply steady, as the night prepares to take its place over the quiet land. Night arrives in the same gentle way it always has, without wait or interruption. It does not fall. It spreads slowly, like a soft cloth being placed over the land. The last traces of blue in the sky fade into deep indigo, and then into a darkness that feels calm rather than empty. The village does not change suddenly when night comes. It only becomes quieter, step by step. Lamps remain lit in a few homes, their light small and steady. The glow rests against mud brick walls and woven reed ceilings, creating warm shapes that move slightly whenever the flame shifts. Inside these rooms, people lie down for rest. Mats are spread across cool ground. Simple bedding is adjusted with slow hands. There is no urgency in these movements. The body already knows what comes next. The day is complete, and nothing more is expected. Outside, the air has turned fully cool now. It carries the softness of the river and the openness of the fields. The heat of the sun is gone completely, leaving only a faint memory in the warmth of walls and stored earth. Everything feels lighter, as if the land itself has loosened its grip. The river continues its movement through the darkness. It is no longer clearly visible in detail, but its presence is still known. The faint sound of water shifting against its banks carries through the night air. It is a steady sound, not strong, not weak, simply continuous. The same sound that has always been there, whether noticed or not. Along the shore, boats rest in silence. Their shapes are barely visible now, blending into the darkness. Ropes hold them in place with simple security. Nothing is disturbed. Nothing is moving except the river itself, and even that movement feels calm enough to belong to sleep. In the village, most activity has ended. Fires have been reduced to low embers or extinguished entirely. The smell of smoke lingers faintly in the air, mixing with the coolness of night. It is a familiar scent, one that belongs to the end of every day. A few people remain awake a little longer, sitting near doorways or open spaces. Their presence is quiet, unhurried. They do not speak much. Sometimes they simply watch the darkness settle fully around them, as if observing something that requires no explanation. Above them, the sky is now filled with stars. They do not appear all at once. They gather slowly, one by one, until the sky feels full in a quiet and steady way. Their light is distant, soft, and unchanging. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, as it always has. The moon, when visible, rests gently above the horizon or higher in the sky, depending on its phase. Its light spreads thinly across rooftops, fields, and the river. It does not brighten the world like the sun. It softens it, making everything feel more still, more distant, more peaceful. Inside homes, breathing slows. Bodies settle deeper into rest. The weight of the day is no longer carried. It has been placed down, left behind in the fields, the river, and the paths walked earlier. Sleep begins to take hold without resistance. Occasionally, a faint sound passes through the village. A shifting mat. A soft movement of cloth. A distant animal call from beyond the fields. These sounds are brief, and then they fade back into silence. The silence is not empty. It is full of presence, full of calm. The river continues to move through the night, unchanged by sleep or time. It carries on as it always does, a quiet thread through the darkness. Its motion is steady, patient, without beginning or end that can be clearly seen. Far from the village, the fields rest under the night sky. The soil is cool now, holding the memory of labor from earlier hours. Nothing moves there except the faint passing of wind. The land has entered its own kind of rest, though it never truly stops. Inside the village, the final lamps are lowered. Light dims further, until only faint glows remain in a few places. Shadows deepen in corners. Walls become outlines rather than shapes. The world narrows into quiet simplicity. Sleep spreads slowly across homes, not like a wave, but like a gradual settling. One household at a time, one person at a time, the village sinks into rest. There is no urgency in it. No final moment. Only continuation into stillness. And in that stillness, the night holds everything gently. The river, the fields, the homes, the people, all resting in their own quiet way under the same wide sky. Nothing demands change. Nothing interrupts the calm. The land remains awake in its own soft manner, while life within it drifts deeper into sleep, carried by the same slow rhythm that has guided every hour before it. The night settles deeper now, not as a change, but as a continuation of the same calm that began with evening. The village is almost entirely still, yet not lifeless. It holds a quiet presence, like something gently breathing in slow rhythm beneath the stars. The river remains the only constant movement that can still be sensed clearly. Even in darkness, it does not stop. It flows without sound that calls attention to itself, only a faint suggestion of motion carried through the air. It is as if the water remembers every hour of the day and carries them forward without effort. In the homes, sleep grows more complete. Bodies rest in simple positions, lying on mats close to the ground where the night air is cooler and more steady. Breathing becomes slow and even. The weight of work, heat, and movement fades into stillness. Nothing is demanded now from hands or feet or voice. A soft breeze passes through the village again, moving between narrow paths and open courtyards. It touches the edges of rooftops and slides along walls made of earth. The structures hold warmth from the day, and that warmth is slowly released into the night air. It is a quiet exchange, unnoticed by those who sleep. Above, the sky feels wider than before. The stars are steady, scattered in a pattern that never seems to change but always feels slightly different when observed for long enough. Their light is distant, almost detached from the world below. They do not move quickly. They simply remain. Occasionally, a small sound rises and fades again. A wooden beam adjusting in the coolness of night. A soft shift of sand along a path. The distant call of an animal moving somewhere beyond the fields. Each sound appears briefly, then dissolves into silence again, as if it was never meant to stay. Near the river, the boats rest without movement. Their shapes are almost indistinguishable from the darkness around them. Only the faintest reflection of starlight reveals their presence. They are tied securely, waiting for the return of morning that will come without question or surprise. The water itself carries a deeper calm now. The surface is less visible, but its motion continues beneath the quiet. It touches the banks softly, again and again, in a rhythm that does not change with time or sleep. The river is always in motion, yet always peaceful, as if movement and stillness are the same thing here. In one corner of the village, a dim ember still glows faintly in a hearth that was not fully extinguished. It does not flame or rise. It simply holds on, a small point of warmth surrounded by darkness. Around it, the room is still, shaped by shadows that no longer shift quickly. Outside, the fields are fully at rest. The soil lies undisturbed, holding traces of earlier footsteps, tools, and work. The wind moves lightly across it, but even that movement feels careful, as if not wanting to disturb the memory of the day that passed. Farther beyond, the land stretches outward into quiet emptiness. The desert edges remain still and patient. The night there is deep and uninterrupted, blending earth and sky into a single vast silence. In the village, sleep becomes deeper still. The rhythm of breathing slows further. Shoulders relax. Faces soften in the dim light of stars that reach inside through small openings in walls and roofs. There is no urgency anywhere. Only continuation of rest. Time here does not feel divided into clear moments. It feels like one long, gentle flow that carries everything forward without resistance. The night does not stand apart from the day. It simply continues it in a quieter form. The river, the fields, the homes, and the sleeping figures within them all exist within this shared stillness. Nothing is separate. Everything is part of the same slow pattern that has no sharp edges. And as the night deepens further, even the sense of distance begins to soften. The world feels closer, yet quieter at the same time. A calm that does not ask for attention settles more fully over everything. The village remains in this steady state, held gently between silence and sleep, as the river continues its unseen path through the darkness, carrying the night forward without end. The night moves forward without making any sound of its own. It does not announce itself again. It simply continues, like a slow river that never changes direction. The village remains within it, held gently in the same quiet that has already settled over the land. By now, most lamps have gone out completely. Only a few faint points of light remain, scattered and distant, like small memories of warmth still clinging to the darkness. Even those lights feel soft, no longer active, just present. Inside the homes, sleep is deeper than before. The kind of sleep that comes not from exhaustion alone, but from acceptance. The body no longer resists rest. It settles into it fully, as if returning to something it has always known. Mats beneath them feel cool and steady. Walls hold the last warmth of the day like a quiet echo. Outside, the air is at its calmest. The coolness is even now, touching every surface without pressure. There is no heat left to balance it. Only stillness remains. The wind, when it passes, does so slowly, almost cautiously, moving through reeds and between rooftops like something careful not to disturb sleep. The river continues its endless presence. In the darkness, it cannot be fully seen, but it is always known. A soft, steady suggestion of movement. It flows as it always has, carrying the land's reflection in invisible form. It does not change its pace for night or day. It simply continues, as it always will. Along its edge, the boats remain in place. Rope knots hold firm. Wooden frames rest against water that never fully stops touching them. Occasionally, a faint shift occurs as the current moves beneath, but even that feels like part of the river's breathing rather than an interruption. Farther away, the fields are completely silent now. Not silent in an empty way, but in a full, complete way. The soil holds everything that happened during the day. Each step, each movement, each moment of labor is still there, not erased, just absorbed. The land does not forget. It simply holds. A thin mist begins to form in some places near the river, rising slowly from the water's surface. It is barely visible, more felt than seen. It softens the edges of the night even further, making the boundary between land and water feel less distinct. In the village, a few people shift slightly in their sleep. Small movements, gentle and unplanned. A hand adjusts a cloth. A shoulder turns slightly. These motions are brief and then stillness returns. The night absorbs them without reaction. Above, the stars remain unchanged. Their arrangement feels fixed, yet endlessly distant. The sky is vast, but it does not feel empty. It feels full in a quiet way, as if everything needed is already present there. The moonlight, if present, continues to rest across rooftops and open spaces. It does not brighten anything strongly. It simply outlines shapes softly, allowing the village to exist in layers of light and shadow that are barely different from each other. Time, in this place, feels less like something moving forward and more like something gently stretching. There is no urgency to it. No sense of arrival or departure. Only continuation. The river, again, becomes the central presence without effort. It is the one thing that never rests in the same way as everything else. Yet even its movement feels restful, as if motion itself has become part of stillness. Somewhere far beyond the village, beyond the fields and the river bend, the night stretches further into open land. It carries the same calm everywhere it reaches. There are no boundaries to it. No edges where it changes suddenly. Only gradual fading into deeper quiet. Within the village, sleep continues to deepen. It is no longer something entering or leaving. It is simply there, surrounding everything, holding each home, each person, each resting breath. The world feels paused, but not stopped. Alive, but not active. Present, but not demanding. And in this balance, the night continues its long, slow passage, carrying the village through hours that feel soft and unmeasured, as the river keeps moving quietly beside it, never asking for attention, never needing to be seen, only to continue. The night has now reached its deepest point, where even the idea of time feels distant and soft. Nothing in the village changes quickly. Nothing calls attention to itself. Everything exists in a calm suspension, as if the world has learned how to rest without ever becoming fully still. The river continues beneath the darkness, carrying its quiet movement through land that sleeps on both sides. It does not rush. It does not slow. It remains in its steady path, touching the banks with a rhythm so consistent it almost disappears into silence itself. Even when no one is awake to notice it, it continues with the same patient presence. The village is fully asleep now. Homes are dark, except for the faintest glow where embers still hold on in hidden corners. Those small warm points are not active flames anymore. They are simply lingering warmth, refusing to disappear all at once. They fade slowly, as everything does here. Inside the homes, sleep has become deeper and more complete. Bodies rest without movement for long stretches of time. Breathing is even and slow. The ground beneath them is cool, steady, familiar. There is no discomfort in this rest, only acceptance, as if the night has always belonged to them. Outside, the air is at its coldest and most gentle. It wraps around the village without pressure. It moves through open paths, around walls, and over rooftops with a softness that does not disturb anything. The wind is barely present now, appearing only in brief moments before disappearing again into stillness. The sky above is vast and uninterrupted. Stars continue to hold their places, unchanged and distant. They do not flicker in a way that draws attention. They simply remain, scattered across a dark expanse that feels endless. The longer they are observed, the more they seem to belong not just above the world, but within it. The moonlight, faint and steady, rests across the landscape. It touches the river, the fields, and the rooftops in a way that feels almost weightless. It does not create sharp contrast. Instead, it softens everything it touches, making edges blur gently into one another. Near the river, the water continues its quiet journey. It carries reflections that no one sees now, but they are still there, broken pieces of sky and starlight moving slowly across its surface. The current remains patient, never changing its nature, only continuing forward in the same gentle motion it has always known. A thin mist lingers close to the water, drifting slightly as the night air cools further. It rises and falls in soft patterns, never forming anything permanent. It dissolves as quickly as it appears, blending back into the darkness without sound. The fields are completely still. No movement remains there now, not even from the wind. The soil rests with full weight, holding every trace of the day within it. Footprints, tools, and labor have all become part of the ground itself. Nothing is lost. Everything is simply absorbed. In the village, a few small animals move quietly between shadows. Their presence is brief and unimportant to the larger stillness. They pass through courtyards, along edges of homes, and disappear again into darkness without leaving any lasting sign. Inside one or two homes, a sleeper shifts slightly, then becomes still again. These small movements are like ripples that fade immediately after they form. The night does not react. It simply continues holding everything in its calm state. Time feels especially slow now, as if it has softened into something almost unnoticeable. There is no urgency anywhere. No expectation. No change waiting to happen. Only the ongoing presence of night, steady and complete. The river remains the only continuous motion that can be felt, yet even it feels like part of the stillness rather than separate from it. Its flow is so steady that it blends into the background of existence, becoming something that does not interrupt silence, but supports it. Far beyond the village, the land stretches outward under the same sky. It is empty in a peaceful way, not lacking, but open. The night covers everything equally, without preference or interruption. It holds fields, river, and distant earth in the same quiet embrace. Inside the village, sleep deepens further, reaching its most complete form. It is no longer light or shallow. It is full, steady, and uninterrupted. Each home becomes a small world of stillness, existing within the larger stillness of the land. And so the night continues, not moving toward anything, not ending anything, simply existing in its long, quiet stretch. The river flows beside it, unchanged. The fields rest within it. The village sleeps inside it. Everything remains held in this calm continuity, where nothing is required and nothing is missing, as the darkness carries the world forward in its slow, peaceful rhythm. The deepest hours of the night settle gently over everything, where even silence feels layered and wide. The village is fully asleep now, not in a temporary rest, but in a complete surrender to the night's long and steady presence. There is no movement that lasts. No sound that remains. Only the quiet continuation of stillness. The river continues through it all, unchanged. It does not become part of sleep, yet it also does not disturb it. It simply flows, as it has always done, beneath the same sky that now feels even larger in the absence of daylight. Its movement is steady enough to be forgotten and yet constant enough to always be there. Along its banks, the darkness is thick but soft. The water blends with the land in places, making it difficult to see where one ends and the other begins. The boundary between them becomes less important at this hour. Everything feels connected through quiet continuity. In the village, homes are completely still. No lamps remain. No embers glow strongly anymore. Only the faint memory of warmth lingers within walls that held life throughout the day. Inside, sleep is uninterrupted, deep, and steady. Bodies rest in positions that will not change for hours. The air is at its coldest now, but it is not harsh. It is gentle, even comforting in its consistency. It moves without urgency, touching everything equally. Roofs, fields, river, and stone all share the same quiet temperature of the night. Above, the sky remains vast and open. The stars are unchanged, yet they feel closer in the absence of noise below. They do not move, but their presence becomes more noticeable in the deep stillness. The longer one imagines them, the more they feel like part of the same calm system that holds the earth below. The moon, faint and steady, continues to rest its light across the landscape. It does not shift the world into brightness. It only outlines it gently. Paths, rooftops, and the river's edge exist as soft shapes within darkness, never fully defined, never fully lost. A light mist still lingers in places near the river, though it is thinner now. It drifts slowly and then fades, as if it has no intention of staying. It forms and dissolves with the same quiet patience as everything else in this night. The fields remain unchanged, completely still. The soil is cool and heavy, holding every trace of the day. There is no movement left within it. only memory in the form of shape and texture. The land does not release what it has received. It keeps it gently, without effort. In the village, even the smallest sounds have faded now. No shifting mats. No distant footsteps. No rustling movement in the dark. Everything has reached the same level of quiet, where sound is no longer needed. The river continues as the only visible sense of motion, though even that motion feels like part of the silence. It does not break the night. It completes it. A slow, steady presence that has no beginning or end that can be felt. Far beyond the village, the land stretches into deeper darkness. There are no boundaries that matter here. The same night covers everything equally, whether river, field, or empty distance. It is the same stillness extended without interruption. Inside the homes, sleep has reached its most settled form. It is no longer something the body enters or leaves. It is simply the state everything has become. Breathing continues slowly. Thoughts are quiet. The weight of the day is completely absent. Time feels almost suspended now. Not stopped, but softened beyond recognition. There is no sense of movement forward or backward. Only the quiet holding of everything in place, as if the night is allowing the world to simply exist without change. The river continues through this suspended time, as it always does. Its motion is the one constant thread through the stillness, yet it never disturbs the calm. It belongs here as much as the silence itself. And so the night holds everything in its deepest layer of quiet. The village, the fields, the river, and the sleeping land all remain within it, unchanged, unhurried, and completely at rest beneath the vast and endless sky. The night now feels at its most complete, as if it has settled into every corner of the land and found no resistance anywhere. Everything rests in a quiet balance that does not need to be maintained. It simply exists, steady and uninterrupted. The village remains fully asleep. There is no movement that lasts, no sound that rises and stays. Homes are dark and still, their shapes softened by the faint light of stars above. Inside, sleep continues without interruption, deep and calm, like a long, even breath that never breaks. The river moves through the stillness as it always has. It is the only presence that continues in visible motion, yet even it feels like part of the silence. The water does not rush. It does not pause. It flows with the same steady rhythm that has carried it through every hour of the day and into every hour of the night. Along its banks, the world is almost indistinguishable from darkness itself. The land and water merge gently in places where the eye can no longer clearly separate them. Only the faintest shifting of reflection suggests that anything is moving at all. A light wind passes occasionally through the open fields. It is not strong enough to disturb anything. It simply moves through the space, brushing over soil and reeds, then fading again into stillness. Each appearance is brief, almost unnoticed, like a thought that dissolves before it fully forms. The sky above remains vast and unchanged. The stars are steady, distant, and quiet. They do not feel far away in a cold sense, but in a calm sense, as if distance itself is part of their gentle nature. The longer the night continues, the more they feel like they belong not just above the world, but within it. The moonlight, faint and steady, rests across the land in soft layers. It does not brighten anything sharply. It only reveals outlines, allowing shapes to exist without detail. The river becomes a pale ribbon. The fields become soft textures. The village becomes a cluster of quiet forms resting beneath the sky. Inside the homes, sleep has become even deeper. There is no sense of waiting or awareness. Only rest. The body is no longer separate from the space around it. It blends into the stillness of the room, becoming part of the same quiet atmosphere that fills every corner. The embers that once glowed are now fully faded. No visible fire remains anywhere in the village. What is left is only memory of warmth, held within walls and ground that absorbed the entire day. The fields remain unchanged. No movement, no disturbance. The soil holds everything it received earlier with quiet permanence. The marks of labor are not erased. They are simply part of the earth now, resting within it. Even the smallest signs of activity have disappeared. No animals move through the village now. No footsteps cross paths. No doors shift. Everything is at rest in a complete and settled way. The river continues its endless passage, the only element that never fully stops. It carries the night forward in its own quiet rhythm. Not faster. Not slower. Always the same steady movement that belongs to no single moment but to all moments together. Beyond the village, the land stretches into a wide silence that feels without limit. The same night covers everything equally. There is no difference between near and far in this darkness. Everything is simply part of the same stillness. Time feels almost dissolved now. There is no clear sense of passing moments. Only continuity. The night does not move toward an end. It simply continues existing in its deep and steady form. Inside this continuity, everything remains gently held. The village, the river, the fields, and the sleeping world exist together in a single calm rhythm that does not break or change. And so the night continues, not as something progressing, but as something present. A vast, quiet stillness carried by the river's soft movement, under a sky that never rushes, where everything rests and nothing is required. Somewhere within the deepest part of the night, long before the first signs of morning begin to gather, the ancient land remains wrapped in complete quiet. The hours drift onward so slowly that they are almost impossible to notice. Nothing marks their passage. No bell sounds. No voice calls out. No shadow moves quickly enough to reveal the changing time. The village sleeps beneath the stars. Mud brick walls, warmed by the previous day's sun, now rest beneath the cool touch of the night air. Their surfaces are rough and uneven, shaped by hands that worked many years before. They stand quietly beneath the sky, asking for nothing and saying nothing. Within these homes, families remain asleep. The farmer who spent the day working beside the river sleeps deeply now. The weight of labor has left his muscles. The heat that settled across his shoulders during the afternoon has become only a memory. His breathing is slow and steady. Nearby, another family rests in a small room lit only by moonlight slipping through a narrow opening above. The silver light falls across clay jars lined against a wall. It touches woven baskets filled with grain. It settles gently on sleeping forms stretched across simple mats. Nothing moves. Nothing needs to move. The entire village seems suspended between one day and the next. Outside, the narrow pathways remain empty. During daylight these paths carried workers, merchants, children, fishermen, and servants. Countless footsteps crossed them beneath the sun. Now they rest beneath moonlight, smooth and silent. Dust lies undisturbed. Sandals remain beside doorways. Tools rest where they were placed before sleep. Everything waits. Near the riverbank, the reeds stand motionless. Their tall stalks rise from dark water, forming quiet lines against the pale glow of the moon. Occasionally a breeze passes through them, producing the softest whisper imaginable. The sound is brief. It fades almost immediately. The river continues onward. Its movement is endless and patient. Water slips around bends in the shoreline just as it did yesterday and the day before. It carries moonlight across its surface in broken pieces that drift slowly downstream. No one watches. No one needs to. The river performs its nightly journey whether seen or unseen. Farther along the banks, fishing boats remain tied securely where their owners left them. Wooden hulls rise and fall ever so slightly with the movement of the water. Ropes creak softly from time to time. The sound is small, barely noticeable. Yet in the deep quiet of the night, even the smallest sounds seem to belong perfectly within the larger silence. Above the river, stars continue their distant watch. Ancient people often spent long evenings looking toward these same stars. Farmers finishing meals. Workers returning from labor. Children sitting beside parents beneath warm evening skies. Many of them knew the heavens well. The stars appeared night after night, season after season, generation after generation. The same patterns returned endlessly. The same points of light crossed the darkness. For ordinary people living beside the Nile, these familiar lights became part of daily life just as much as bread, water, and sunlight. Tonight those stars remain overhead. Steady. Quiet. Unchanging. The village sleeps beneath them. As the hours continue, the coolness of the night deepens slightly. The earth releases more of the heat it stored during the day. Stone floors become cooler beneath sleeping bodies. Courtyards fill with calm night air. The relief is welcome. Daytime heat can be heavy in this land. Workers often spend long hours beneath the sun, bending, lifting, carrying, building, planting, harvesting, grinding grain, hauling water, and repairing tools. By night, rest becomes something precious. Not luxurious. Simply necessary. The body welcomes stillness. Muscles welcome relief. The mind welcomes quiet. Inside one home, a baker sleeps after beginning work long before sunrise the previous morning. His day followed a routine repeated countless times. Mixing grain. Preparing dough. Tending ovens. Watching bread slowly bake in the warmth of fire. The routine rarely changes. Yet there is comfort in its predictability. The same actions. The same smells. The same steady rhythm. Day after day. Year after year. Elsewhere, a scribe rests after spending much of the day recording measurements, supplies, and deliveries. His hands remain still now. The tools of his work lie untouched nearby. The marks he carefully created earlier remain waiting on their surfaces. Tomorrow they will matter again. Tonight they rest. Like everything else. Like everyone else. The village breathes quietly beneath the stars. The night continues. Far beyond the homes and fields, desert land stretches outward into darkness. The desert is silent in a different way than the village. The village silence contains sleeping people. Sleeping animals. Resting tools. Quiet homes. The desert silence feels larger. Older. Open in every direction. Moonlight spreads across dunes and rocky ground. Nothing interrupts the stillness. The landscape appears almost frozen beneath the sky. Yet even there, time continues moving gently forward. The same stars pass overhead. The same night air cools the ground. The same endless cycle continues. Back near the river, the first subtle hints of change begin so gradually that they would be impossible to notice without careful attention. The darkness remains. The stars remain. The village remains asleep. And yet the night has begun its slow journey toward morning. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Simply steadily. Like the river itself. The hours pass in silence. The eastern horizon remains dark, but perhaps just slightly less dark than before. The difference is so small that it could be imagined. No one wakes because of it. No one stirs. The land remains deeply at rest. A fisherman sleeps peacefully in his home. Tomorrow he will return to the river. He will inspect nets. Push his boat into the water. Watch sunlight spread across the current. But none of that exists yet. Only sleep exists. Only the quiet hours before dawn. The same is true for farmers, builders, servants, merchants, potters, bakers, scribes, children, parents, elders. The routines waiting for them remain hidden just beyond the horizon of sleep. For now, they rest. And as they rest, the entire ancient world seems to drift in a calm and gentle stillness. The river flows. The stars shine. The breeze occasionally moves through the reeds. The village remains silent. The night remains deep. And the first distant promise of another day slowly, patiently, begins its long approach across the sleeping land. The approach of dawn is so gradual that the sleeping village does not notice it at first. The darkness still rests across the land. The stars still fill the sky. The river still moves quietly through the night. Yet somewhere beyond the eastern horizon, the world has already begun its slow turn toward morning. Nothing changes quickly. That is the way of this place. The Nile flows at its own pace. The seasons arrive when they are ready. The fields grow according to rhythms older than memory. And morning itself unfolds slowly, allowing the land to wake gently. For now, however, sleep still holds the village. Inside the mud brick homes, the coolness of the night lingers. The thick walls have protected families from the heat of the previous day. The air inside feels calm and still. A child sleeps curled beneath a woven cloth. Nearby, an older man rests on a reed mat, his breathing deep and steady. A mother sleeps beside jars of stored grain and baskets waiting for tomorrow's work. No one is awake yet. No fires burn. No tools move. The village remains wrapped in silence. Outside, the narrow pathways lie empty beneath the stars. During daylight these paths will again fill with movement. Sandals will press into the dust. Water carriers will pass between homes. Farmers will make their way toward the fields. But those hours remain ahead. For now, only quiet exists. The moon has drifted farther across the sky. Its pale light continues to touch rooftops and courtyards. Shadows stretch softly across walls and doorways. Everything appears calm. Everything appears timeless. Near the riverbank, a fisherman's boat rocks almost imperceptibly against its rope. The movement is so small that it seems part of the river itself. Water laps gently against wood. The sound comes and goes. Then silence returns. The reeds standing nearby remain mostly still. Occasionally a faint breeze moves through them, producing a soft rustling that lasts only a moment. The air carries the scent of water and earth. It is a familiar scent. The scent of the Nile. For generations, countless people have fallen asleep and awakened to these same smells. Farmers, laborers, craftsmen, and families have known this river not as something distant or extraordinary, but simply as part of daily life. The river provides water. The river nourishes fields. The river shapes routines. The river determines seasons. And through every quiet night, it remains present. As the hours continue, the stars begin their slow retreat. Not because they move away, but because the faintest traces of light are beginning to gather beyond the horizon. The change is almost impossible to see. The sky remains dark. Yet somewhere in the distance, darkness is becoming slightly softer. The village still sleeps. The fields remain still. The river continues its patient flow. Time moves forward gently. In one home, a baker shifts slightly during sleep. Tomorrow's work waits for him. Before sunrise he will prepare grain. He will knead dough. He will tend ovens whose warmth will spread through the cool morning air. But not yet. The work remains part of the future. The same is true throughout the village. A potter sleeps beside unfinished vessels. A scribe rests near carefully stored writing tools. A builder sleeps with tired muscles earned from long hours beneath the sun. Their tasks wait quietly beyond the horizon of sleep. Nothing demands attention now. Nothing interrupts rest. Farther away, beyond cultivated land, the desert remains silent beneath fading stars. The vast open landscape stretches endlessly into darkness. Moonlight still touches distant dunes and rocky ground. The coolness of night remains strong there. Even the wind seems hesitant to disturb the calm. The desert and the river feel like opposite worlds. One shaped by water. The other shaped by dryness. Yet both now share the same peaceful silence. Back within the village, the first subtle signs of waking nature begin to appear. Not among people. Not yet. Instead, somewhere near the river, a small bird shifts within the reeds. The movement is slight. Almost invisible. The bird does not sing. It simply stirs. Elsewhere, another small creature moves briefly before becoming still again. The night is beginning to loosen its hold. Only slightly. Only enough to hint at what will come later. The eastern sky grows a little lighter. Still dark. Still deep blue. Yet no longer completely black. The change remains gentle. No sharp edge divides night from morning. There is only a slow blending. A gradual softening. A patient transition. The stars nearest the horizon begin to fade first. Higher above, countless others remain visible. The river reflects none of this urgency because there is none. It simply continues. Flowing. Moving. Carrying water through darkness and toward daylight. The village remains asleep. Families rest. Workers dream. Children sleep peacefully. The routines waiting for them remain paused. For these final hours before dawn, life exists in a rare state of complete stillness. No grain is being ground. No bread is baking. No fields are being worked. No boats are crossing the river. No merchants are walking dusty roads. The ordinary routines that shape every day have not yet begun. And perhaps that is what makes these hours feel so calm. The entire village exists between yesterday and tomorrow. Between labor and labor. Between one familiar routine and the next. Resting. Breathing. Waiting. The horizon continues to brighten almost imperceptibly. The darkness remains, but it no longer feels endless. Morning is approaching. Not with noise. Not with urgency. Only with the same gentle patience that guides everything in this ancient world. The river knows it. The birds will soon know it. The farmers will eventually know it. The bakers, potters, fishermen, and scribes will know it too. But for now, the village still sleeps beneath fading stars, while the first quiet hints of another day slowly gather beyond the horizon. The final hours before sunrise possess a special kind of quiet. It is not the deep stillness of midnight, nor the gentle activity of morning. It exists somewhere between the two, in a space where the world seems to pause before beginning again. The village remains asleep beneath the fading stars. The river continues its endless journey. The fields wait patiently in darkness. Everything rests. Yet morning is drawing closer now. The eastern horizon carries a faint glow that was not there earlier. It is still soft and distant, hardly more than a suggestion. The sky remains mostly dark, but the darkness has begun to thin. Inside the homes, sleep continues. A family rests together in a small room built from mud brick and timber. The walls are thick and cool. Baskets hang from wooden pegs. Clay jars stand neatly against one side of the room. Nothing moves. The room is filled only with slow breathing and quiet shadows. Outside, narrow pathways remain empty. These paths have witnessed countless mornings. For years, perhaps generations, workers have stepped onto them before sunrise. Farmers carrying simple tools. Water carriers balancing heavy jars. Bakers beginning their long day before the first light touched the fields. The paths know these routines. Soon they will welcome them again. But not yet. For now they remain untouched. The dust lies smooth and still. Near the river, a thin layer of mist hovers above the water. It forms softly in the cool air before dawn. The mist drifts slowly, almost lazily, over the river's surface. It softens reflections and blurs distant shapes. A boat resting near the shore appears almost dreamlike within it. The river itself remains calm. Its steady movement continues beneath the mist. Water slips past reeds and riverbanks with the same patient rhythm it has followed for thousands of years. The Nile asks for no attention. It simply flows. Generation after generation has depended upon it. Children have grown into adults beside it. Families have built homes near its banks. Fields have flourished because of its waters. Entire lives have unfolded within reach of its current. Tonight, or perhaps now nearly this morning, it remains exactly where it has always been. Steady. Reliable. Quiet. The stars above continue to fade. Those closest to the horizon disappear first. The brighter stars still shine overhead, but their light feels gentler now as dawn slowly approaches. The moon hangs lower than before. Its silver glow is becoming less noticeable against the growing light in the east. The night is slowly surrendering. Not all at once. Never all at once. Only little by little. The air remains cool. This is perhaps one of the most comfortable moments of the entire day. The heat that will arrive later has not yet appeared. The coolness of night remains. The village rests within that comfort. Inside another home, a baker sleeps through these final quiet hours. Soon he will wake. His routine rarely changes. He will rise before most others. He will begin preparing grain. He will light ovens. He will work beside warmth and fire while much of the village still stretches awake. The predictability of his day would feel familiar. Comforting, even. The same tasks. The same smells. The same steady progression from darkness into daylight. In another part of the village, a fisherman sleeps nearby to his nets. Tomorrow's river journey already waits for him. The boat rests safely outside. The nets remain folded. The river waits patiently beyond. Yet none of these things call for him yet. Sleep still holds him. And so the village remains peaceful. A quiet collection of homes suspended between night and day. Far beyond the river, fields stretch toward the horizon. In darkness they appear almost endless. The earth rests after yesterday's labor. The footprints of workers remain pressed into the soil. Small paths weave between cultivated land. Water channels lie silent beneath the fading stars. Everything waits. Morning has not yet reached the fields. The workers who tend them remain asleep. The tools they use remain untouched. The land itself seems content to rest for a little longer. The first birds are beginning to stir now. Not many. Only a few. A faint rustle emerges from reeds along the riverbank. A small movement among branches. Then quiet again. Nature is awakening carefully. Slowly. As though it understands the value of these final moments of peace. The eastern sky grows brighter. Still gentle. Still soft. A pale band of light stretches across the horizon. The stars above it continue to disappear one by one. The river reflects the changing sky. Dark water now carries hints of pale silver and soft blue. The mist above the surface becomes easier to see. It drifts lazily across the water before gradually thinning. The world is changing. But it changes so slowly that it feels less like a beginning and more like a continuation. The village remains asleep. The river flows. The fields rest. The sky brightens. Everything unfolds according to a rhythm so familiar that no one questions it. Day follows night. Night follows day. The cycle continues. The baker will wake. The farmer will walk to the fields. The fisherman will push his boat into the river. The scribe will return to his records. Children will step outside into the morning air. Bread will bake. Water will be carried. Dusty roads will fill with footsteps. But all of that still lies just ahead. For now, the ancient village remains wrapped in the last peaceful moments before sunrise. The stars continue their quiet retreat. The river continues its gentle flow. And the horizon slowly welcomes another familiar day into the world. The horizon continues to brighten. The change is gradual enough that the sleeping village remains unaware of it for a little while longer. The eastern sky has become a soft shade of gray-blue now, and the stars nearest that edge of the world have almost completely disappeared. Above, a few brighter stars still remain. They shine quietly in the fading darkness, holding their place for a little longer before yielding to the coming day. The river notices first. Or at least it seems that way. The water begins reflecting the subtle changes in the sky long before the people of the village awaken. Pale streaks of color stretch across its surface. Gentle shades of silver and blue move through the current, broken only by small ripples and the slow drift of lingering mist. The Nile remains calm. Patient. Steady. Its journey through the ancient land never pauses. Throughout the long night it has carried moonlight. Now it begins carrying dawn. Near the riverbank, reeds stand against the growing light. Their outlines become clearer. Individual stalks emerge from the darkness one by one. The world is slowly revealing itself again. A bird stirs among them. Then another. Small movements begin appearing in places that had been completely still only moments before. A faint call breaks the silence. Soft. Brief. The first true sound of morning. Then quiet returns. For a few moments longer, the village continues sleeping. Inside the mud brick homes, families remain at rest. The cool air still fills the rooms. The thick walls hold traces of night. Sleeping figures lie motionless beneath simple coverings. The day has not yet claimed them. Outside, narrow pathways remain empty. Dust rests undisturbed. Water jars wait beside doorways. Tools remain exactly where they were placed the evening before. Everything appears calm. Everything appears unchanged. Yet the sky continues brightening. The difference grows easier to see now. Dark blue becomes lighter blue. Gray becomes silver. The horizon slowly widens into view. Far beyond the village, the outlines of distant land emerge from darkness. The desert begins to reveal itself. The fields begin to return. The river becomes more visible. Morning approaches with remarkable patience. There is no rush. No sudden transformation. Only the steady unfolding of light across the world. In one home, the first sleeper begins to stir. A baker. His body knows the routine before his mind fully wakes. For years he has risen before sunrise. The habit is older than memory. Older than thought. The routine lives within him. A slight movement. A slow breath. A shift upon the reed mat. Then stillness again. Not fully awake. Not yet. The morning is still arriving. Elsewhere, a fisherman sleeps peacefully beside folded nets. His boat waits near the riverbank. The current continues moving beyond the village. Soon he will return to it. But not yet. For now, sleep remains stronger than daylight. The first birds are becoming more active. Their sounds remain gentle. A call from one tree. An answer from another. The noises do not disturb the calm. They seem to belong naturally within it. Like ripples spreading across still water. The village remains mostly silent. The birds simply announce what the horizon already knows. A new day is coming. The mist above the river grows thinner. Light passes through it more easily now. The pale veil begins dissolving into the morning air. As it fades, boats resting near the shoreline become clearer. Their wooden forms emerge from darkness. Their ropes become visible. The details of the riverbank slowly return. The world is waking one small piece at a time. A breeze moves across the water. Cool. Fresh. Carrying the scent of wet earth. The smell drifts through reeds and fields before reaching the village. It enters courtyards. Passes through open doorways. Moves gently around sleeping homes. The air feels different now. Not warmer. Not yet. But somehow lighter. The promise of daylight rests within it. Inside another home, an elderly farmer begins to wake. His eyes remain closed. Yet sleep has already started loosening its hold. Years of routine have taught his body when morning approaches. For much of his life, days have begun before sunrise. Field after field. Season after season. Harvest after harvest. The rhythm has become part of him. Even now, resting quietly in the cool darkness, some part of him recognizes the coming dawn. The horizon brightens further. Soft pink begins appearing among the pale blue. Not bright. Not dramatic. Only a faint wash of color stretching across the edge of the world. The river captures it immediately. Small traces of pink drift across the moving water. The surface glows softly. The current carries these colors downstream just as it carried moonlight earlier. Night is ending. But it ends gently. Like everything else in this ancient place. The first door opens somewhere within the village. The sound is small. A wooden movement. A quiet creak. Then silence again. Someone has awakened. Someone has stepped into the cool morning air. Not many. Only one. The village still sleeps. Most homes remain quiet. Most routines have not yet begun. But the transition has started. The long stillness of night is slowly giving way to the familiar motions of another day. The baker will soon rise. The farmer will soon prepare for the fields. The fishermen will soon walk toward the river. The scribes will eventually return to their records. The merchants will travel dusty roads. Children will wake to the sounds of morning. Yet none of it arrives quickly. Everything unfolds according to the same patient rhythm that has guided life here for generations. The river flows. The birds call softly. The horizon glows brighter. And the ancient village slowly begins to awaken beneath the returning light of dawn. Dawn spreads a little farther across the land. The colors along the horizon deepen gently, blending pale silver, soft blue, and faint shades of rose into a quiet tapestry of morning light. The stars continue disappearing one by one, retreating into the brightness that slowly gathers above the river. The village is no longer completely asleep. The first signs of waking life move carefully through the cool air. A doorway opens. A figure steps outside. Bare feet touch packed earth that still holds the chill of the night. For a moment, the person simply stands there. Not working. Not speaking. Just breathing the cool morning air. The river can be heard faintly in the distance. Birds call from the reeds. The world feels fresh and still. These are precious moments. Soon the routines of the day will begin. Soon tools will be lifted, ovens will be lit, and paths will fill with footsteps. But for now, there is only the calm transition between sleeping and waking. In a small home near the edge of the village, the baker rises from his mat. His movements are slow, unhurried. The day ahead is already familiar. There is no need to think about what comes next. The routine has been repeated countless times. He adjusts a simple cloth around his shoulders and steps into the cool pre-dawn air. The sky catches his attention for only a moment. He has seen thousands of dawns. Each one beautiful. Each one ordinary. Both things are true at the same time. Nearby, another door opens. Then another. The village awakens gradually, not all at once. Small signs of life appear here and there. A woman carries an empty clay jar toward the river. An older man stretches his tired back before beginning the day. A young boy rubs sleep from his eyes while standing beside a doorway. None of them hurry. There is time. The sun has not yet risen above the horizon. The coolness remains. People take advantage of these gentle hours before the heat returns. The riverbank begins receiving its earliest visitors. Water carriers arrive first. Their jars are empty now, but not for long. They walk familiar paths worn smooth by generations of footsteps. The route requires no thought. The body remembers. Every turn. Every stone. Every slope leading toward the water. At the river's edge, the morning light reflects beautifully across the surface. Mist still lingers in a few places. Thin ribbons of white drift above the current before slowly dissolving into the air. The water appears almost silver. Soft ripples spread outward from the shore. The scene is peaceful enough to feel timeless. A woman kneels beside the river and fills a clay vessel. The sound of water entering the jar is gentle, steady, comforting. Nearby, another person waits patiently for their turn. No one speaks much. Morning conversations tend to be quiet. People are still carrying some of the calm of sleep within them. The fishermen begin appearing next. They walk toward their boats carrying folded nets across their shoulders. Their silhouettes move through the growing light. The river welcomes them as it always does. The boats wait exactly where they were left the evening before. Nothing has changed. The ropes remain secure. The current continues flowing. The day's work can begin whenever they are ready. One fisherman pauses before stepping into his boat. He looks across the water for a moment. Perhaps he notices the changing sky. Perhaps he simply enjoys the quiet. Then he pushes away from shore. The boat glides forward. Wood moves gently against water. Small waves spread outward. The river accepts the movement without resistance. Back in the village, the baker has already begun preparing for his work. A small fire is lit. At first it is only a glow. Then a few small flames appear. The warmth spreads gradually. Soon the familiar smells of grain and baking bread will drift through the village. People will recognize those smells immediately. They belong to morning. Just as the cool air belongs to dawn. Just as the river belongs to the land. Inside another home, a farmer prepares for the day ahead. His tools wait near the doorway. Simple tools. Worn smooth by years of use. The wooden handles carry marks left by countless days of labor. He picks them up without inspection. There is no need. They are trusted companions in a routine repeated across seasons and years. Outside, the light continues growing stronger. The eastern horizon glows brighter now. The colors become warmer. Pink shifts toward gold. Silver becomes pale yellow. The world begins revealing more detail. Fields emerge from the darkness. Trees become clearer. The river shines more brightly. Birdsong becomes more frequent. The village slowly fills with gentle sounds. Footsteps. Quiet voices. The movement of clay jars. The crackle of small fires. None of these sounds feel disruptive. They blend together naturally. Like pieces of a familiar melody. Children begin waking now. Some step outside immediately. Others remain near their families, still carrying traces of sleep. Their hair is messy. Their eyes heavy. The day has only just begun. For them, morning feels long and open. For adults, it feels comfortably predictable. The same tasks await. The same responsibilities. The same rhythms. And yet there is reassurance in that repetition. Life here is built upon routines. The river rises and falls. The fields require care. Bread must be baked. Water must be carried. Fish must be caught. Records must be written. Homes must be maintained. Each task connects naturally to the next. One day flowing into another. One season flowing into another. The sun is still below the horizon, but only just. Its arrival feels close now. The sky brightens with every passing moment. Golden light gathers along the edge of the world. The river reflects it eagerly. The village stands ready to receive it. And as dawn continues unfolding across the ancient land, ordinary life slowly returns once more, carried forward by familiar routines that feel as steady and dependable as the river itself. The first edge of the sun finally appears above the horizon. It does not leap into the sky. It rises slowly, patiently, as though it has all the time in the world. A thin line of golden light touches the distant fields and then spreads across the land in widening bands. The river catches the sunlight first. The surface, which only moments ago reflected pale blues and silvers, now glows with soft gold. Tiny ripples shimmer as they move. Every gentle movement of the current seems to carry light downstream. The fishermen already upon the water pause briefly as the sunrise unfolds around them. Not because it is unusual. Quite the opposite. Because it is familiar. This same sunrise has greeted them countless times. The same warm colors. The same quiet arrival. The same beginning of another day beside the Nile. Their boats continue drifting forward. Oars dip into the water with slow, practiced movements. The river accepts each stroke without complaint. The sound is soft. Wood against water. Water against wood. A rhythm as old as memory. Along the riverbank, more villagers arrive carrying clay jars. The paths that were empty only an hour ago now show signs of life. Sandals leave fresh impressions in the dust. Small groups pass one another with quiet greetings. No one speaks loudly. The day is still young. The coolness of dawn encourages calm voices and unhurried steps. A woman balances a filled water jar upon her shoulder and begins the walk back toward the village. The vessel is heavy. Yet the movement appears effortless. Years of repetition have taught her exactly how to carry it. Her posture adjusts naturally. Her feet know the path without needing to look. Routine guides her as much as sight. Nearby, another villager kneels beside the river, washing a simple clay bowl. The water moves around their hands. Sunlight sparkles briefly on the surface before drifting away with the current. Everything feels gentle. Everything feels steady. Back within the village, the baker's fire burns more brightly now. Warm air rises from the oven. The familiar scent of baking bread begins spreading through nearby streets. It drifts between homes and across courtyards. The smell reaches early workers as they prepare for the day. For many, it is one of the first signs that morning has truly arrived. Bread has always been part of life here. Every day begins with it. Every family depends upon it. The preparation is repetitive, predictable, comforting. The baker works quietly. His hands move with confidence earned through years of practice. He does not need to rush. He does not need to think about every motion. The routine carries him forward naturally. Nearby, farmers prepare for the journey to the fields. Simple tools are gathered. Water containers are checked. Clothing is adjusted against the coming heat of the day. These preparations are small but important. The sun may feel gentle now, but everyone knows it will grow stronger as the hours pass. The fields await. The soil awaits. The work awaits. A farmer steps onto the path leading away from the village. Soon another follows. Then several more. Their figures move slowly through the golden morning light. Dust rises faintly beneath their sandals. The air remains cool enough to make walking pleasant. They take advantage of these early hours before the heat settles across the land. As they travel, the fields become more visible. Rows of cultivated earth stretch outward beside irrigation channels fed by the river. The water moves quietly through these channels, bringing life to the crops. Without the Nile, these fields would not exist in the same way. Everyone understands this. The river is not merely nearby. It is woven into every part of daily life. The grain growing in the fields depends upon it. The bread baking in ovens depends upon it. The workers carrying water depend upon it. Even the routines themselves seem shaped by its presence. In another part of the village, children begin stepping outside. Some remain close to their homes. Others wander short distances while the morning remains cool. Their voices are soft. Their movements relaxed. The day still feels new. They watch birds moving through the brightening sky. They watch workers beginning their routines. They watch the village come alive. For them, many of these sights feel ordinary. Because they are. This is how mornings have always unfolded. This is how yesterday began. This is how tomorrow will likely begin as well. There is comfort in that predictability. Life follows patterns. The same paths. The same tasks. The same rising sun. Again and again. Season after season. Year after year. Near a shaded wall, an older man sits quietly for a moment before beginning his work. He watches the village awakening around him. The smell of bread drifts through the air. Birds move between rooftops. Workers walk toward the fields. Fishermen become smaller figures upon the river. Everything unfolds exactly as expected. And there is something peaceful about that. Not because every day is identical, but because the rhythm remains familiar. People know where they belong within it. They know what the morning asks of them. They know what the afternoon will bring. They know that evening will eventually return. The certainty itself becomes comforting. The sun rises higher. Golden light spreads across mud brick walls and dusty roads. Shadows remain long for now, stretching across the ground like dark ribbons. But already they are beginning to shorten. The day has started. The coolness of dawn slowly begins to fade. The village is fully awake now. Bread is baking. Water is being carried. Boats are moving across the Nile. Farmers are reaching their fields. Children are watching the world unfold around them. And all across the ancient landscape, ordinary life resumes its slow and predictable rhythm, carried forward by routines so familiar that they feel as natural as the sunrise itself. The morning settles comfortably across the land. The sun continues its slow climb above the horizon, and with each passing moment the golden light spreads farther across the fields, the river, and the village. The coolness of dawn remains for now, though everyone knows it will not last forever. For this brief part of the day, the air feels gentle. The workers appreciate it. The farmers appreciate it. Even the animals seem to move more easily during these early hours. The village is fully awake now. The quiet stillness of the night has given way to the soft activity of morning. Yet nothing feels rushed. Life unfolds at a measured pace, guided by routines repeated so often that they require little thought. Along the dusty paths, people move toward their daily tasks. Some carry tools. Others carry water. A few carry baskets that will soon be filled with grain, vegetables, or supplies. Sandals brush against the earth with a steady rhythm. Dust rises lightly and settles again. The sounds are familiar. Comforting. Part of the morning itself. Near the baker's oven, warm bread is beginning to emerge from the heat. The scent spreads through nearby streets, mixing with the smell of clay, dust, and fresh morning air. People passing by recognize it immediately. Many have awakened to that smell their entire lives. Perhaps their parents did as well. And their grandparents before them. The routine connects generations together in quiet ways. A loaf of bread baked this morning is not very different from one baked years earlier. The methods remain familiar. The ingredients remain simple. The process remains steady. The baker works carefully. His hands move with calm confidence. He knows exactly how the dough should feel. He knows exactly when the heat is right. Years of practice have made the work seem almost effortless. Not because it is easy, but because it is known. Across the village, another familiar routine unfolds. Women return from the river carrying filled clay jars. The water shifts gently inside the vessels as they walk. The jars are heavy, but their movements remain balanced and smooth. The paths they follow are deeply familiar. Every turn is remembered. Every step belongs to a pattern repeated countless times. The water they carry will serve many purposes throughout the day. Drinking, cooking, cleaning, mixing clay, making bread. Life depends upon these daily journeys to the river. And so the routine continues. Near the edge of the village, farmers are reaching the fields. The sunlight now stretches fully across the cultivated land. Rows of crops appear bright and healthy beneath the morning sky. Irrigation channels carry water quietly between them. The soil still holds some coolness from the night. Workers begin their tasks while conditions remain comfortable. Tools press into earth. Hands move through growing plants. Small repairs are made to channels and boundaries. No one rushes. The work is important, but haste rarely helps. Steady effort matters more. The farmer who moves patiently through a field often accomplishes more than the one who hurries. The land teaches this lesson repeatedly. Seasons cannot be rushed. Growth cannot be rushed. Harvests arrive in their own time. The river follows its own rhythm. The fields follow theirs. People learn to follow along. Farther away, fishermen continue their work upon the Nile. The morning light dances across the water. Their boats drift quietly between areas where fish are known to gather. Nets are lowered and raised. Hands work carefully. Eyes scan the water. Some mornings bring larger catches. Some bring smaller ones. The river decides. And the fishermen accept its decisions with patience developed through years of experience. The boat itself becomes a familiar world. Wood beneath their feet. Water surrounding them. Sky above. The same environment day after day. The same motions repeated again and again. There is comfort in such familiarity. The river becomes less like a workplace and more like a companion. Always present. Always moving. Always known. Back in the village, children begin helping with simple tasks. Some gather small items. Some carry messages. Others simply stay close to family members while learning the routines that shape daily life. They watch carefully. Even when they seem distracted, they are learning. They observe how bread is prepared. How water is carried. How tools are used. How fields are tended. Little by little, the patterns of adult life become familiar. The routines pass from one generation to the next. Not through long explanations, but through observation, participation, repetition. The same way countless skills have always been learned. The sun climbs a little higher. The shadows become shorter. The warmth increases slightly. Still pleasant. Still manageable. But different from the cool air that greeted the village at dawn. Workers notice the change. Not because it surprises them. Because it happens every day. The body recognizes it. The skin feels it. Morning is progressing. The day is unfolding exactly as expected. Near a shaded wall, a scribe begins his work. He sits comfortably with writing materials arranged nearby. Records must be kept. Supplies must be counted. Deliveries must be noted. The work requires patience, care, attention to detail. His hand moves steadily across the writing surface. Mark after mark appears. The routine is quiet, orderly, predictable. Like so many other forms of work within the village. The hours continue passing gently. Nothing dramatic happens. Nothing unexpected interrupts the flow of the morning. And perhaps that is what makes this world feel so calm. Most people are not living through grand events. They are living through ordinary days. They wake. They work. They eat. They rest. Then they do it again. Day after day. Year after year. The rhythm becomes the structure upon which life is built. The river flows. The bread bakes. The fields grow. The sun rises. And everyone moves within those patterns, carried forward by routines that feel as ancient and dependable as the Nile itself. The morning continues to unfold with quiet certainty. The sun climbs a little higher above the eastern horizon, and the golden softness of dawn slowly gives way to the brighter light of the early day. Shadows that once stretched long across the village paths now begin to shrink, drawing closer to walls, trees, and the feet of passing workers. No one seems surprised by this. The change happens every day. The ancient people living beside the Nile know the movement of sunlight almost as well as they know the paths between their homes. Morning grows warmer. The village accepts it. In the fields, farmers continue their steady labor. The coolness that made the earliest hours so pleasant is beginning to fade. Sweat appears slowly along brows and shoulders. Cloth darkens in small places where the body has begun responding to the growing heat. Yet the work continues calmly. A man kneels beside an irrigation channel, using a simple tool to clear a small blockage of mud and reeds. Water immediately begins moving more freely. He watches it for a moment. The current slips forward quietly, finding its path once again. The task is small. Almost invisible. Yet it matters. Many of the most important tasks in this world are like that. Not dramatic. Not memorable. Simply necessary. 1,000 small actions performed day after day keep life moving forward. Nearby, another farmer examines young plants growing beside the water. The green shoots sway gently in the light breeze. They seem delicate. Yet they carry tremendous importance. Bread depends upon grain. Families depend upon bread. And grain depends upon careful attention throughout the growing season. The farmer knows this. His father knew it. His grandfather likely knew it too. Knowledge passes quietly through generations, carried not through books alone but through repetition and experience. The land teaches those willing to listen. Along the river, boats continue drifting across the water. The fishermen work patiently. Their movements remain slow and deliberate. A net is lowered. Time passes. The net is raised. The process repeats. There is no need for haste. The river follows its own pace. The fishermen have learned to follow it. The sunlight now sparkles brightly across the Nile. The silver glow of dawn has transformed into something warmer. Golden reflections dance across the surface. Every ripple catches light. Every small wave carries brightness downstream. The river appears alive with movement, though its overall rhythm remains calm. Near the shoreline, a group of women wash clothing in the shallow water. Their hands move steadily through familiar motions. Cloth is rinsed, folded, lifted, rinsed again. Conversation drifts quietly between them. Nothing urgent. Nothing dramatic. Simple observations. Small details of daily life. The kind of conversations that rise naturally when people share work together. Their voices blend softly with the sounds of moving water. Together they become part of the morning atmosphere. Back within the village, the baker's work continues. Fresh bread cools on simple surfaces while new dough is prepared. The smell remains strong. Warm. Comforting. Inviting. People passing nearby often glance toward the bakery almost without thinking. The scent feels familiar enough to be part of home itself. For many, it has been present since childhood. Morning without the smell of baking bread would feel incomplete. Inside nearby homes, meals are being prepared. Simple foods. Practical foods. the kind that support long hours of physical work. Clay bowls are arranged. Water is poured. Bread is divided and shared. Families gather briefly before returning to their responsibilities. The meal is not hurried. Neither is it long. It simply belongs naturally within the rhythm of the morning. Children move through the village carrying out small tasks. Some deliver items between homes. Others help prepare food. Some accompany adults to workshops or fields, learning through observation and participation. The routines of adulthood are introduced gradually. No formal announcement marks the beginning of responsibility. Children simply grow into it, one task at a time. A boy carries a small bundle across a courtyard. A girl helps organize baskets near a doorway. Neither task seems important by itself. Yet together they form the foundation of daily life. Everything contributes. Everything matters. The sun rises higher still. The air grows warmer. The village becomes brighter. The pace remains steady. Near a workshop, a craftsman begins shaping wood. The scent of fresh cut timber drifts lightly into the air. His tools move carefully across the surface. Shavings fall to the ground in thin curls. The work demands patience more than strength. A steady hand. A practiced eye. An understanding of materials earned through years of experience. Each piece of wood responds differently. Each project requires attention. Yet even here, routine plays its part. Many of the movements have been repeated thousands of times. The body remembers them automatically. Nearby, a potter works with clay. The material is cool beneath his hands despite the warming day. He shapes it carefully, pressing and smoothing with gentle pressure. The clay slowly transforms. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Just steadily. Much of life here follows that same pattern. Slow transformation. Gradual progress. Patient effort. The hours continue passing. The sun continues rising. The warmth continues building. And everywhere across the village, the same truth reveals itself again and again. Life is not defined by extraordinary moments. It is shaped by ordinary routines. The carrying of water. The tending of fields. The baking of bread. The mending of tools. The movement of boats upon the river. The keeping of records. The raising of children. The sharing of meals. These small acts create the structure of every day. And because they repeat so reliably, they create a sense of stability that stretches across years and generations. The Nile flows. The sun rises. Workers labor. Families gather. Morning becomes afternoon. And the ancient world continues moving forward through the quiet power of familiar routines. As the morning advances, the sunlight grows stronger across the valley of the Nile. The gentle coolness that greeted the first workers before dawn is now becoming a memory. Warmth settles across the fields, the village, and the riverbanks. It arrives slowly, without surprise. Everyone has felt it countless times before. The day is following its familiar path. The villagers continue following theirs. In the fields, the work remains steady. Farmers move carefully between rows of growing crops. Their sandals leave fresh marks in the soil. Their tools rise and fall in measured rhythms. The sounds are simple. The scrape of wood against earth. The soft movement of water through irrigation channels. The occasional murmur of conversation. Nothing loud. Nothing hurried. The work demands patience more than speed. A farmer pauses beside a channel to drink water from a clay vessel. The water is cool compared to the warming air. He drinks slowly, appreciating the brief relief. Then he returns to his task. The interruption lasts only a moment. The routine continues. Around him, other workers do the same. Short pauses. Small adjustments. Steady effort. The land teaches endurance. Not through force. Through repetition. Day after day, season after season, people learn how to work alongside the rhythms of nature rather than against them. The river itself offers an example. It never rushes. It simply continues. Farther away, fishermen remain upon the water. The morning sun now reflects brightly from the surface of the Nile. The river seems almost covered in moving pieces of light. The fishermen squint slightly beneath the growing brightness. Their boats drift through familiar sections of the current. Nets are checked. Lines are adjusted. The work remains calm. Some catches are better than others. Some days are more generous than others. Yet the fishermen rarely expect certainty. They understand the river well enough to know that patience matters more than prediction. The boat rocks gently beneath them. The current carries them forward. The sounds of the village become distant. Out here, the river feels like its own quiet world. Back near the village, activity continues increasing. The pathways that were nearly empty at dawn now carry a steady flow of movement. People travel between homes, workshops, storage buildings, and fields. Clay jars are carried. Bundles are transported. Messages are exchanged. The village functions through countless small actions that fit together like pieces of a larger pattern. A merchant opens a storage area and begins organizing goods. Baskets are inspected. Containers are moved. Records are checked. Nothing dramatic occurs. Yet the work matters. The smooth functioning of daily life depends upon attention to ordinary details. Nearby, a scribe continues recording information. His work requires concentration. The marks he makes may seem small, but they help maintain order within the community. Grain must be counted. Supplies must be tracked. Deliveries must be remembered. Memory alone cannot always carry such burdens. So records become part of the routine. The scribe works quietly beneath partial shade. The sunlight has become stronger now. Many workers seek opportunities to remain out of direct exposure whenever possible. The day is still pleasant. But the heat is building. Everyone knows what awaits later. The hottest hours have not yet arrived. Still, their approach can already be felt. Near one home, women sit together preparing food for later meals. Grain is ground slowly between stones. The familiar sound returns again. Stone against stone. A steady rhythm. Ancient. Comforting. The motion repeats endlessly. Hands move automatically. Years of practice guide every movement. Flour gathers gradually. The work requires effort. Yet there is something almost peaceful about its consistency. The repetitive motion encourages quiet thought. Nearby, bread from earlier baking cools upon simple surfaces. The smell remains present throughout parts of the village. Warm grain. Earthy and familiar. A scent deeply connected to daily life. Children continue moving through the village. Some help adults. Others play quietly between responsibilities. They learn by watching. By participating. By becoming familiar with the routines that surround them. One child watches a potter shaping clay. Another observes a parent preparing food. These ordinary moments become lessons. The knowledge of the community passes forward naturally. not through formal instruction alone. Through daily life itself. The sun climbs higher. Shadows grow shorter. The brightness becomes more intense. Walls reflect heat. Dusty paths begin warming beneath bare feet and sandals. The village adjusts. People seek shade when possible. Work continues, but movements become slightly more deliberate. Water becomes increasingly valuable as the temperature rises. At the riverbank, more jars are filled. More trips are made between water and home. The Nile remains generous. Its presence influences every aspect of the day. Without it, the fields would dry. The crops would fail. The routines of life would change entirely. Yet the river is here. Flowing steadily. Supporting countless ordinary lives. An elderly man sits beneath a shaded area overlooking part of the village. For a few moments he simply watches. Workers moving along paths. Children carrying small bundles. Smoke rising faintly from cooking fires. Boats visible upon the distant water. The scene contains nothing extraordinary. And perhaps that is exactly why it feels meaningful. This is life as most people know it. Not grand ceremonies. Not great battles. Not royal celebrations. Simply ordinary people moving through ordinary days. Working. Eating. Resting. Repeating routines that provide structure and purpose. The rhythm may seem predictable. Yet predictability itself becomes a source of comfort. People know what tomorrow will likely bring. Another sunrise. Another walk to the river. Another day in the fields. Another loaf of bread. Another evening beside family. The cycle continues. Reliable. Steady. Familiar. And as the morning gradually approaches the threshold of midday, the ancient village remains busy but calm, carried forward by routines that have become as natural and dependable as the flowing waters of the Nile itself. The morning slowly approaches its final hours. The sun has climbed well above the horizon now, and its light falls directly across the village with increasing strength. The shadows that stretched across roads and courtyards at dawn have become much smaller. They gather close to walls and beneath trees, forming islands of relief in the growing warmth. The change happens so gradually that no one notices the exact moment. People simply feel it. The air becomes heavier. The sunlight becomes brighter. The body begins adjusting. Across the fields, farmers continue their work. The soil has warmed noticeably since sunrise. The moisture near irrigation channels still offers some relief, but the open ground absorbs more heat with every passing hour. Workers move steadily between rows of crops. A man straightens his back for a moment and looks toward the river. The water glimmers beneath the sun. From this distance it appears almost white in places where the light strikes it directly. He watches only briefly. Then he returns to his task. There is always more work waiting. Not because life is difficult in some dramatic way. Simply because daily life is built upon continuous effort. Fields require care. Water channels require maintenance. Tools require repair. Food requires preparation. The cycle never truly stops. Yet it rarely feels overwhelming because it unfolds through familiar routines. People know what must be done. And so they do it. Near the riverbank, fishermen continue working beneath the strengthening sun. Their boats drift slowly upon the water. The coolness of dawn is long gone now. The warmth reaches them even out here. Some adjust cloth around their heads and shoulders for protection. Others pause occasionally to drink water carried aboard. The river reflects sunlight so brightly that it almost seems to shimmer with fire. Yet beneath the brightness, the current remains calm, steady, patient. The fishermen continue following its rhythm. A net is lifted from the water. Fish glimmer briefly in the sunlight before being sorted carefully. The process is neither hurried nor celebrated. It is simply another part of the day. Another familiar task. Another step within a routine repeated countless times before. Back in the village, workshops remain active. The potter's hands continue shaping clay. The material now feels warmer than it did earlier in the morning. Still, it responds patiently to every movement. The potter presses gently, turns the clay, smooths the surface. The vessel gradually takes shape. Nearby, a craftsman works beneath a shaded structure where sunlight filters through gaps overhead. Thin strips of light move slowly across the ground as the hours pass. Wood shavings collect near his feet. The scent of freshly worked timber lingers in the warm air. The sounds of his tools remain steady. Tap. Scrape. Adjust. Repeat. Every movement belongs to a sequence learned over many years. The body remembers. The hands remember. Routine guides the work forward. In another part of the village, grain continues to be ground. The sound of stone against stone rises and falls gently throughout the day. It is one of the most familiar sounds in the community. So common that many people hardly notice it anymore. Yet if it disappeared, its absence would feel strange. The rhythm has become part of daily life. Like birdsong in the morning. Like water moving through irrigation channels. Like footsteps along dusty roads. Children move through the village carrying out small responsibilities. Some deliver food to workers. Others assist with household tasks. The youngest still find moments for play between duties. Their laughter appears briefly and then fades again into the broader rhythm of village life. Even their games often imitate the world around them. They pretend to carry water. Pretend to work fields. Pretend to travel in boats. They practice adulthood without realizing it. The routines of the community are already becoming familiar. Already becoming part of them. As the sun climbs higher, more people seek shade whenever possible. A narrow wall becomes valuable. A tree becomes valuable. A simple canopy stretched above a workspace becomes valuable. The heat is not yet at its strongest, but its arrival can be felt. Water jars are checked more frequently. Workers pause occasionally for brief rests. No one sees this as unusual. The day has always unfolded this way. Morning energy gradually gives way to midday caution. People adapt naturally. The village understands the rhythm of the sun. Near one shaded courtyard, an elderly woman prepares vegetables while sitting comfortably upon the ground. Her hands move steadily. Carefully. The task requires attention but not urgency. Nearby, a younger family member helps organize baskets and containers. Neither speaks much. The work itself fills the quiet. There is something peaceful about shared tasks performed without hurry. The kind of peace that grows from familiarity. Everyone knows what needs to be done. No discussion is necessary. The Nile continues flowing beside all of this activity. Its presence remains constant. The same water that reflected dawn now reflects the brightness of late morning. The same current that carried fishermen earlier still carries them now. The same river that nourishes the fields continues feeding irrigation channels. Its influence reaches every corner of daily life. Bread. Fields. Fishing. Travel. Water. Everything connects back to the river. Everything connects back to routine. As the hours continue passing, the village settles into a slower pace. Not because work stops. Because the heat encourages patience. Movements become more deliberate. Conversations become quieter. People conserve energy for the long afternoon ahead. The sun now stands high enough to dominate the sky. The brightness feels almost complete. The cool memory of dawn seems distant. Yet everyone knows something important. Just as dawn became morning, and morning is becoming midday, this heat will eventually soften too. Evening will return. Night will follow. The river will continue flowing. And tomorrow another sunrise will arrive. The cycle remains unbroken. Steady. Reliable. Predictable. A rhythm repeated so many times that it feels woven into the land itself. And beneath the growing warmth of the approaching midday sun, the people of the village continue moving through their familiar routines, carried gently forward by the same patterns that have shaped countless ordinary days beside the Nile. By now, the morning has almost completely surrendered to midday. The sun stands high above the Nile, bright and unwavering. Its light pours across the land without obstruction, touching every field, every rooftop, every dusty road, and every stretch of riverbank. The coolness that lingered during the early hours has faded almost entirely. Warmth settles over everything. Not suddenly. Not harshly. Just steadily. The village adjusts as it always does. People who have spent their entire lives here know the rhythm of the day as well as they know their own names. They understand when to work quickly, when to move slowly, when to seek shade, and when to rest. The knowledge comes naturally. Learned over years. Passed from one generation to the next. In the fields, the pace has become more measured. Farmers continue their work, but they do so carefully now. The strongest sunlight demands respect. A man carrying a wooden tool walks along the edge of an irrigation channel. His shadow remains short beneath him. The water beside the path flows quietly. Its presence offers relief, both practical and emotional. The sight of moving water feels cooler somehow. The sound feels cooler too. Even when the air grows warm, the river continues carrying a sense of calm through the landscape. Nearby, several workers pause beneath a simple shelter made from reeds and wooden supports. The shade is thin. The sunlight still filters through. Yet the difference is noticeable. They sit quietly for a few moments, drinking water from clay vessels. The conversation is soft. Unhurried. No one feels the need to fill every silence. The silence itself feels comfortable. The rest lasts only a short while. Soon the workers return to their tasks. The day is far from over. Farther away, fishermen continue drifting upon the river. The sunlight reflects intensely now, turning sections of water into bright patches of gold and silver. The boats appear small against the wide river. Tiny moving shapes within a vast landscape. The fishermen know these waters well. They know where the current slows. Where fish tend to gather. Where the river deepens. Where hidden sandbanks wait beneath the surface. This knowledge has been earned slowly. Not through sudden discoveries. But through years of observation. Years of repetition. Years of returning to the same river every morning. The Nile rewards patience. Those who live beside it understand that. Near the village, a potter carries newly shaped vessels into a protected area where they can dry safely. The clay remains delicate. The vessels must be handled carefully. One careless movement could undo hours of work. Yet the potter shows no sign of concern. His hands know exactly what to do. Experience guides every motion. The same actions repeated over and over eventually become second nature. Many lives here are built upon that principle. Practice. Routine. Familiarity. The baker understands it. The farmer understands it. The fisherman understands it. The potter understands it. Life flows more smoothly when the work becomes part of the body itself. In a shaded courtyard, grain continues to be prepared. The grinding stones move steadily. The sound remains constant. Stone against stone. Again and again. The rhythm seems almost timeless. A person listening from a distance might hear the sound and imagine the same scene taking place years earlier. Or years later. Some routines change very little. They simply continue. One day blending gently into the next. Children move through patches of shade where they can find them. The warmth encourages quieter activities now. The excitement of early morning has softened. The brightness of midday encourages stillness. Some children sit beside older relatives and listen to stories. Others help with simple household tasks. A few watch workers nearby, observing skills they will eventually learn themselves. Knowledge passes quietly through these moments. Not through lessons alone, but through presence. Through participation. Through countless ordinary days spent together. The village itself seems to move more slowly now. Not because anyone is tired, though many are. Rather because the heat encourages patience. People choose their movements carefully. They carry only what needs to be carried. They walk only where they need to walk. Energy is valuable. Especially during the hottest part of the day. The air feels heavier. Dust settles more quickly. Even distant sounds seem softer somehow. Near the riverbank, a woman fills another clay jar with water. The cool surface of the vessel feels pleasant against her hands. She lifts it carefully. The weight is familiar. The journey back to the village is familiar. Everything about the task is familiar. Yet familiarity does not make it meaningless. In many ways, it makes it meaningful. These repeated actions sustain life. Without them, the larger routines of the village could not continue. Water must be carried. Bread must be baked. Fields must be tended. The smallest tasks often support the largest systems. The river continues flowing beside it all. Unchanged. Patient. Reliable. The sunlight sparkles across its surface. Birds occasionally cross overhead. Reeds sway lightly near the banks. The river seems untouched by human schedules, yet human schedules depend entirely upon it. The relationship has existed for generations. Perhaps longer than anyone can truly remember. As midday approaches more completely, workers begin anticipating the brief periods of rest that often accompany the hottest hours. Not long rests. Just enough. Enough to recover. Enough to drink water. Enough to prepare for the afternoon still waiting ahead. The day moves forward, in the quiet hour, slowly. Predictably. The sun remains high. The village remains busy. The river remains constant. And all across the ancient landscape, ordinary people continue living ordinary lives, guided by routines so familiar that they feel as natural as the movement of the Nile itself. The sun now stands near the highest point of its journey across the sky. Its light falls almost straight down upon the land, and the village settles into the rhythm that belongs to midday. The brightness is strong. The warmth rests heavily upon roofs, walls, fields, and roads. Even the colors of the world seem different beneath this light. The soft gold of dawn is gone. The gentle blue of early morning has faded. Now the village exists beneath clear brightness and steady heat. The people know this hour well. For generations, countless lives have moved through these same moments. Farmers have felt this same sun upon their shoulders. Fishermen have watched this same brightness dance upon the river. Bakers, potters, builders, merchants, and scribes have all adjusted their work to the familiar demands of midday. Nothing about it is surprising. It is simply part of the day. Along the fields beside the Nile, workers continue tending crops, though many now seek opportunities to pause whenever possible. A narrow patch of shade becomes valuable. A tree becomes valuable. Even the shadow cast by a simple wall becomes a welcome place to rest for a few moments. One farmer sits beneath a small shelter made from reeds. He drinks slowly from a clay cup. The water is not cold, yet it feels refreshing. A light breeze moves through the shelter. For a brief moment, the air feels cooler. The farmer closes his eyes. Not to sleep. Simply to enjoy the relief. Then, after a few minutes, he returns to work. The fields still require attention. The irrigation channels still require care. The crops continue growing beneath the sun. The work never completely stops. It simply adjusts its pace. Near the riverbank, fishermen guide their boats toward quieter sections of water. The sunlight is intense now. Reflections shimmer brightly across the surface. The river appears almost dazzling in places. Yet beneath the brightness, the Nile remains calm. Its steady movement never changes. The same current that flowed beneath moonlight now flows beneath midday sun. The same water that reflected stars now reflects brilliant daylight. Time changes. Light changes. The river continues. A fisherman lowers a hand into the water as his boat drifts. For a moment he feels the coolness against his skin. The sensation is brief. Simple. Yet deeply appreciated. Small comforts matter during warm afternoons. Back within the village, many workshops remain active. The potter continues shaping clay, though his pace is slower now. The air feels warmer. The clay dries more quickly. Every season and every hour brings small adjustments to familiar work. Experience teaches people how to adapt. The potter has learned these lessons over many years. His hands move steadily. Patiently. There is no need to hurry. The vessel will take shape in its own time. Nearby, a woodworker pauses to wipe dust from his hands. The scent of timber lingers around him. Wood shavings cover part of the ground. The morning's work has left visible traces. Soon there will be more. Projects often require days or even weeks to complete. Patience is part of the craft. Just as patience is part of farming. Part of fishing. Part of nearly everything in this ancient world. In a shaded courtyard, food is being prepared for the middle of the day. The smells drift gently through the warm air. Fresh bread. Grain. Vegetables. Simple meals. Meals that provide strength rather than luxury. Families gather when they can. Workers return briefly from nearby tasks. Children sit beside parents and grandparents. Conversations remain calm. The heat seems to soften even the voices. People speak quietly. Pause often. Listen as much as they talk. The midday meal is not simply about food. It is also a moment of rest. A small pause within the larger rhythm of the day. Nearby, children sit beneath shade where the sunlight cannot reach them directly. The brightness outside appears almost white in places. Dusty roads shimmer slightly beneath the heat. The children watch the village around them. Workers moving slowly through sunlight. Birds resting quietly in shaded branches. Dogs sleeping where the ground remains cool. Even animals understand the rhythm of midday. They conserve energy. They wait. They rest. The village itself seems to breathe more slowly now. Morning activity has softened. The busiest hours of labor have paused slightly. The heat encourages patience. It encourages stillness. No one fights against it. People have lived alongside this climate for generations. They understand its patterns. They know that the afternoon will eventually pass. The evening will eventually arrive. The coolness will eventually return. There is comfort in knowing this. Near the river, a merchant traveling between settlements pauses beneath a tree. His journey will continue later. For now, shade is more valuable than speed. His goods remain secured nearby. The road can wait. The sun cannot be hurried. He drinks water and watches the river for a while. Many travelers have done the same. The Nile provides more than resources. It provides companionship. A constant presence in a changing day. The river offers something steady to look at. Something steady to listen to. Something steady to trust. The afternoon slowly begins to gather beyond the brightness of midday. The shift is almost impossible to notice at first. The sun still stands high. The warmth still fills the air. Yet time continues moving forward. Quietly. Patiently. Just as it always does. The village remains alive with ordinary routines. Bread continues to be shared. Water continues to be carried. Tools continue to be used. Boats continue to drift. Children continue learning from the adults around them. Nothing extraordinary occurs. And yet life feels full. Because life is made from these ordinary moments. The repeated actions. The familiar paths. The trusted routines. The quiet certainty that tomorrow will likely resemble today. The Nile flows. The sun shines. The village endures. And beneath the steady warmth of midday, the ancient world continues onward in its calm and predictable rhythm, one ordinary hour gently following the next. And now, as the long day beside the Nile begins to fade from our thoughts, the ancient world grows quiet once more. The sun, which rose so gently above the river, has completed its journey across the sky. Its warmth slowly softens. The bright fields grow dim. The dusty roads lose their sharp edges. Shadows lengthen across the land. Farmers return from their work. Fishermen guide their boats toward shore. The baker finishes the final tasks of the day. The potter sets aside his tools. The scribe places his records carefully away. One by one, the familiar routines come to rest. The village settles into evening. Small cooking fires glow softly in courtyards. Families gather close together. Simple meals are shared. Quiet conversations drift through the cooling air. Children grow sleepy. Older voices become softer. The pace of the day gently loosens its hold. Beyond the homes, the Nile continues flowing. It flowed before sunrise. It flowed through the heat of midday. And now it flows beneath the fading light of evening. Patient. Steady. Unchanged. The river carries reflections of the first stars as they appear overhead. One by one, tiny lights emerge in the darkening sky. The same stars watched over generations of farmers, fishermen, builders, servants, merchants, and families. Ordinary people living ordinary lives. People whose names are mostly forgotten now. Yet whose days were filled with the same hopes, labors, meals, friendships, and moments of rest that have always shaped human life. The village grows quieter. Doors close softly. Footsteps become fewer. The warmth stored in mud brick walls slowly drifts into the cool night air. A gentle breeze moves through the reeds beside the river. The sound is faint, barely more than a whisper. The boats rest along the shoreline. The fields rest beneath the stars. The roads rest. The workshops rest. The entire landscape seems to exhale. The long rhythms of another day have come to an end. And yet nothing truly ends. Tomorrow the river will still flow. Tomorrow bread will be baked. Water will be carried. Fields will be tended. Children will wake. Birds will call from the reeds. The sun will rise again above the Nile. The routines will continue. Slowly. Steadily. Predictably. Like they always have. Like they always will. And as the ancient village settles into silence, the stars shine quietly above the dark water. The river moves gently through the night. The warm air cools. The sounds fade. The world grows still. Far away, beyond the fields and beyond the reeds, only the soft murmur of the Nile remains, flowing endlessly beneath the moonlight. And there, beside that quiet river, beneath that vast sky filled with stars, the ancient world drifts peacefully into sleep.